My name is Isaias, and I'm a cardiologist at Memorial Hospital. I've treated some of the wealthiest people in the city, but nothing prepared me for what I discovered at Richard Caldwell's wedding. "Dr. Isaias, so glad you could make it," Richard said, shaking my hand enthusiastically at the reception. He was 72, recovering well from his bypass surgery 6 months ago. "Wouldn't miss it, Richard. Congratulations," I replied, smiling. "Where's the lucky bride?" "There she is," he gestured toward a stunning woman in her 30s. "My beautiful Victoria." I walked over to congratulate her. "Victoria, lovely to meet you. I'm Isaias, Richard's cardiologist." "Oh, how wonderful," she said, extending her hand. "Richard speaks so highly of you, doctor." The moment I took her hand, something felt wrong. Her pulse was rapid, too rapid for someone at their own wedding reception. Then I noticed her pupils, dilated, with an unusual medication response I'd seen before. "Are you feeling all right?" I asked carefully. "Perfectly fine," she said quickly, pulling her hand away. "Just wedding day nerves, you know." But I knew better. Those symptoms were classic signs of someone on high-dose amphetamines or specific cardiac medications. My mind raced back to 6 months ago. My colleague, Dr. Patricia Morrison, approached me. "Isaias, great party, isn't it?" "Patricia, can I talk to you privately?" I asked. We stepped onto the terrace. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Richard's bride. Something's off. Her vitals suggest she's on serious medication, possibly cardiac drugs. But she's young and appears healthy," I explained. "Maybe she has a condition she hasn't disclosed?" Patricia suggested. "That's what worries me. Remember that patient who died 6 months ago, Elena Vasquez?" Patricia's eyes widened. "The woman who was found dead from a heart attack? They said it was natural causes." I signed off on her death certificate. She was Richard's previous girlfriend. They were going to get married, I said. "You think there's a connection?" "Elena had the same rapid pulse, dilated pupils. I noticed it during her last checkup, but she said she was fine. 2 weeks later, she was dead," I said. "What are you suggesting, Isaias?" "I'm suggesting that maybe Elena's death wasn't natural, and maybe this Victoria knows something about it," I replied. Back inside, I watched Victoria carefully. She kept checking her phone, whispering urgently to a younger man I didn't recognize. Richard joined me at the bar. "What do you think of her, Doc?" "She seems nervous," I said carefully. "Wedding jitters," Richard laughed. "But I'm the luckiest man alive. After Elena died, I thought I'd never find love again." "How did you meet Victoria?" I asked. "At Elena's funeral, actually. She said she was Elena's cousin from out of state. We bonded over our grief and, well, one thing led to another," Richard explained. My stomach dropped. "Her cousin? Richard, did you verify that?" "What do you mean?" "Did Elena ever mention a cousin named Victoria to you?" Richard's smile faded. "Now that you mention it, no. But why would she lie?" "That's what I intend to find out," I said. "Richard, I need you to trust me. Don't sign any legal documents, change your will, or give Victoria access to your accounts until I've checked something." "Isaias, you're scaring me." "Good. You should be scared. I think your bride might be a murderer." The next morning, I sat across from Detective James Crawford in his office downtown. "Let me get this straight, Doctor," James said, leaning back in his chair. "You think this woman killed your patient to marry her wealthy boyfriend?" "I know how it sounds, but hear me out," I said. "Elena Vasquez died of what appeared to be a heart attack, but she showed symptoms consistent with digoxin poisoning in the weeks before her death." "Digoxin?" "A cardiac medication. In high doses, it causes heart failure that looks natural. It's been used in murders before," I explained. "Did you report this suspicion when she died?" James asked. "I had doubts, but the coroner ruled it natural causes. Elena had a family history of heart disease. But now, seeing Victoria with the same symptoms—" "You think she's poisoning herself to build a medical history?" James interrupted. "Exactly. If she suddenly dies after marrying Richard, it'll look like a tragic coincidence. And Richard just updated his will last week, naming her as his sole beneficiary. James sat forward. How much are we talking about? $47 million, I said. That's one hell of a motive. What do you need from me? I need you to investigate Victoria's background. I don't think that's even her real name, I said. I'll need something to work with. I handed him a folder. I took photos at the wedding. I also have Elena's medical records showing the symptoms I observed. This could be enough for a preliminary investigation, James said, studying the documents. Give me 48 hours. 2 days later, my phone rang. Isaias, it's James. You need to hear this. What did you find? Victoria Martinez doesn't exist. Not before 2 years ago, anyway. But I found someone who looks exactly like her. Christina Hayes, a former nurse from Nevada with a record. What kind of record? She was fired from a hospital for stealing medication, specifically digoxin and other cardiac drugs. 2 years ago, an elderly patient she cared for died and left everything to her in a changed will. The family sued, but the case was dismissed due to lack of evidence. My blood ran cold. She's done this before. It gets better, James continued. I pulled Elena's autopsy. There was never a toxicology screen for digoxin because they didn't suspect poisoning. I got a court order to exhume the body. And? Massive levels of digoxin, enough to kill 3 people. Elena Vasquez was murdered, Isaias. You were right. What about Victoria or Christina? I've been watching her. She's been visiting pharmacies using fake prescriptions for cardiac medications. We have her on camera. I'm building a case, but I need more evidence that she plans to kill Richard, James explained. What if we confront her? Maybe we can get her to confess, I suggested. Too risky. She might run. Then I had an idea. What if Richard confronts her? What if he tells her he's changing his will back, cutting her out completely? If she's planning to kill him soon, she might panic and reveal something. That's dangerous, Isaias. Not if we're recording everything. Richard has a home security system. We can capture whatever she says, I proposed. James was quiet for a moment. Let me talk to the DA. If Richard agrees to wear a wire, we might be able to get her. I'll talk to Richard. He deserves to know what he's married to. Richard sat in his study, his face pale as I finished explaining everything. Elena, she was murdered? And Victoria, Christina, killed her to get to me? His voice shook. I'm sorry, Richard, but we can stop her before she hurts you too, I said gently. Detective Crawford added, Mr. Caldwell, we need your help. We need you to confront her. Tell her you're changing your will. If she reveals her intentions on camera... I'll do it, Richard said immediately. That woman killed Elena. She deserves to rot in prison. You'll be wearing a wire. We'll have officers outside, James assured him. At the first sign of physical danger, we move in. That evening, I waited in a surveillance van outside Richard's mansion with Detective Crawford and 2 other officers. She just arrived, one officer said, watching the monitor. On screen, we saw Christina enter Richard's study where he waited. Richard, darling, what's this about? Your text sounded urgent, Christina's voice came through the speakers. Sit down, Victoria. We need to talk, Richard said. What's wrong? You look upset. I've been thinking about my estate planning. I'm going to make some changes to my will, Richard said carefully. Changes? What kind of changes? Her voice had an edge to it now. I'm setting up a trust for my nephew. He'll get the bulk of my estate. You'll still be provided for, of course, but... What? Richard, I'm your wife! We've only been married 3 weeks. I think it's prudent to... Prudent? After everything I've done for you? After I helped you through your grief when Elena died? Christina's voice rose sharply. That's another thing. I spoke with Elena's real family. They said she never had a cousin named Victoria. The room went silent. Then Christina laughed, a cold, bitter sound. So you know, she said flatly. Know what, Victoria? Or should I call you Christina? Richard asked. Clever. Did your doctor friend figure it out? I saw the way he looked at me at the wedding. Why did you kill Elena? Richard's voice cracked. Why? Because she had everything I wanted. You, the money, the life. She didn't deserve you. So you poisoned her? Digoxin. Easy to obtain, hard to detect. The stupid doctors thought it was a heart attack. It would have been perfect if your nosy cardiologist hadn't gotten suspicious. And you were planning to kill me too? Richard asked. Not right away. I needed to establish myself as your grieving widow first. Maybe in a year or two. A tragic accident, perhaps. Or another heart attack. You do have a weak heart, after all. You're insane, Richard whispered. I'm practical. You're old, Richard. You were going to die eventually anyway. I just wanted to make sure I benefited from it. Detective, move in, James ordered into his radio. Seconds later, officers burst into the study. Christina tried to run, but was tackled by 2 officers. Christina Hayes, you're under arrest for the murder of Elena Vasquez and conspiracy to commit murder, Detective Crawford announced, handcuffing her. This is entrapment! You can't use this, she screamed. Actually, we can. You confessed to murder, on camera, with 12 witnesses, James said, holding up the recording device. 3 months later, I sat in the district attorney's office with Richard, Detective Crawford, and prosecutor Maria Santos. The jury came back in 45 minutes, Maria said, smiling. Christina Hayes is guilty on all counts: first-degree murder, attempted murder, fraud, and conspiracy. How long? Richard asked quietly. Life without parole, plus 30 years. She'll never see the outside of a prison cell again, Maria replied. Good, Richard said firmly. That monster took Elena from me. She doesn't deserve another second of freedom. Detective Crawford shook Richard's hand. Mr. Caldwell, you were incredibly brave. Confronting her like that, not many people could have done it. I did what needed to be done. Dr. Isaias gave me the courage, Richard said, turning to me. You gave yourself the courage, Richard. I just pointed you in the right direction, I replied. Maria gathered her files. The best part? We've contacted Nevada authorities about her previous victim. They're reopening that case. She might face additional charges there. She deserves everything she gets, I said. My colleague Patricia joined us, having testified as an expert witness during the trial. Isaias, I have to say, when you first told me your suspicions, I thought you were crazy. I almost convinced myself I was being paranoid, I admitted. But you trusted your instincts. You saved Richard's life, Patricia said. And you got justice for Elena, Richard added. Her family is finally at peace knowing what really happened. Detective Crawford's phone buzzed. He read the message and grinned. Just got word from the prison. Christina tried to convince her cellmate that she was innocent, that we framed her. What happened? I asked. Her cellmate was an undercover officer. Christina admitted to 2 other murders we didn't even know about. Wealthy men she dated in Arizona and California. The FBI is investigating now, James explained. She's a serial killer, Patricia said, shocked. Was a serial killer. Now she's just inmate number 847392, James corrected. Richard stood up, extending his hand to me. Dr. Isaias, how can I ever thank you? Just promise me you'll be more careful about who you trust, I said. Believe me, I've learned my lesson. I'm setting up a foundation in Elena's name to support women's heart health research. She'd like that, Richard said. She would love that, I agreed. As we left the DA's office, reporters waited outside. Richard had agreed to do one interview about the case. The reporter asked, Mr. Caldwell, how does it feel knowing your wife tried to murder you? She wasn't my wife. She was a predator who saw an opportunity. But thanks to Dr. Isaias' vigilance and Detective Crawford's excellent police work, she failed. Justice was served, Richard answered. Dr. Isaias, what made you suspicious? Another reporter asked. As a doctor, I'm trained to notice when something doesn't add up medically. When I saw those symptoms, I couldn't ignore them. Sometimes trusting your professional judgment can save a life, I explained. Later that evening, Richard, Patricia, Detective Crawford, and I met for dinner to celebrate. "Here's to justice," James said, raising his glass. "To Elena," Richard added quietly. "To catching monsters before they strike again," Patricia said. "To all of you," I finished. "To teamwork and never giving up on the truth." As we clinked glasses, I reflected on how close Richard had come to being another victim. Christina Hayes had been so confident, so certain she'd get away with it. But she hadn't counted on a doctor who paid attention to details, a detective willing to investigate, and a victim brave enough to face his would-be killer. "You know what the ironic thing is?" Richard said. "Christina thought love made people weak, vulnerable. But it was love, my love for Elena, that made me strong enough to face her. And your dedication to your patients that saved my life, Isaias." "That's the difference between people like us and people like her," I replied. "We build others up. She tore them down. In the end, good always has the advantage because we work together." Detective Crawford nodded. "And we follow the law. We didn't take revenge. We pursued justice. That's what makes us better." Have you ever noticed something was wrong but convinced yourself you were imagining it? What would you have done in my situation? Like and subscribe for more stories about people who refused to be victims and fought back the right way.